Alright guys, welcome back. I've got one last video for you guys from the Central Coast Railroad Festival that happened a couple days ago for me now. But this video is kind of a more tutorial-ish type of video. It's more of a documentary to show you guys kind of how we did our power system on the actual layout. So we're going to go ahead and switch here and I'll show you kind of what we did. All right, so here's kind of a general overview of our power system. So we used Digitrax, and on the far left here you can see that we've got our command station. I think it's a 210 command station. I can't remember top of my head, but the command station and the boosters and the power supply, they're all what we consider legacy systems. Digitrax has upgraded their command station and boosters, so if you have the newer equipment, then this video won't work for you because this is all legacy equipment when it comes to the Digitrax system. So we're going to go ahead and play the video here, and then we'll go from there. So I kind of just wanted to show you kind of the overview of what we got here. So I'm going to start with this guy. This guy is a PS 2012, and this guy provides all the power to the command station and to our two boosters. This gives you a, if I remember correctly, 18 volts worth of power, and each unit requires 5 volts, the command station and our two boosters that we got here. So they are separated down here. We've got two leads going to the command station, or no, one side is dedicated to the command station, the other two get split into the two boosters when it comes to power. And also one thing to kind of note here is that the power supply is also connected to a backup battery along with our LNWI units. So that way, if there's any surge or if we lose power, then the backup battery can help us, turn things off if we lose power, or if it surges, it protects all of our equipment. So the whole point of this is that we want to protect our equipment as much as possible because it's quite an investment when it comes to power supply and boosters and so forth to actually run a DCC layout. All right, so here's our command station. Okay, it is a 200. It looks like it's our command station. So, yeah. So basically, what I do in this video is that I do a general, just a documentary or oh, man, I cannot speak right now. I just wanted to record and document how the wires are done in our system. So basically what we do here is that instead of connecting the individual wires to the actual command station, we actually take those wires and inputs and put it onto a bus line. So that way we can actually make all the modification and connections out here versus trying to get all the little wire connections at our particular command station. It just helps the connectors, it helps our wires so that way they don't get bent in transit and so forth. So basically all the wiring that you see down here is basically what you would do in the command station. Now I'm not going to go over how to wire all of this. I'm not going to go over the schematics because again, this is a legacy system. I want to give you guys ideas for how to wire everything for your particular system. And kind of a disclaimer, just wire it the way Digitrax wants you to wire it essentially. But and also kind of this configuration is to protect the command station. Digitrax strongly recommends that you don't use the command station to power your actual layout. The command station is essentially the brains of the entire operations when it comes to digital command and control. So the way we have it here is that the command station is connected to our boosters, and then the boosters provide that power to the track. So as we go through this video, you'll see kind of how the wiring is done. Some wires dead end to an Anderson connection, so that way you can essentially connect other wires together to make it like an auto reverser or any future growth when it comes to the system. So as we go through, you can kind of see how things are connected. That is the local net that's connected to the different boosters. Right here, I'm showing you the power connections and how they kind of flow. Now, the power cords here are actually part of the Digitrax circuit breaker system. So these wires are connected to the power supply, which then gets Andersoned out into the other boosters. And again, the whole point of the system is to protect all of the equipment. So with the power, within the power here, if something were to short, we actually have a small little circuit breaker here that trips, so that way it protects the boosters later down the line if, you know, our second and third lines of defense fails when it comes to like the backup battery or the actual power supply 2012 units. All right. So then I continue to show you guys the power. So this one is going to be going into the booster. So as you can see here, the inputs here are the power. So here's kind of an example of how we use the terminal bus to actually make all of our connections for us. So the power comes through here, the first two, and then goes into the Digitrax booster 150. And all of our subsequent connections are on the bus as well. So again, I continue to show you guys how we wire things here. Kind of a little bit blurry with this pause, but what we do here is that we make another terminal bus down here to split into the additional boosters that we have. So I think this is ground, but ground we basically split, so that way it can go into a different wire, and then that ground can go into the other terminal bus of the other boosters. So wherever we have to split the connection to multiple boosters, we make a second terminal strip for it. And that's what you guys are going to be able to see here. So again, I continue to look through the connections here. And I can't remember which wire does the auto reverse, but if I remember correctly, if we take that gray and that orange and we connect those two together, we now have a booster that can auto reverse if there's a short. But again, I'm not 100% on that, but it's just the way this configuration is. Now again, that's only for the 150. The newer boosters have an auto reverser option, which is nice. Okay, so what I kind of do here is that I show you guys from the power of the booster strip, we now take it to what we call PSXs. Now these things are really nice. Again, we talk about protecting the brains of the system because they are expensive. So what we do here is we take the power from one of the boosters and it goes into one PSX, and then that comes out to our first district. And then it gets daisy chained onto the second one to make our second district. And these little guys, you have to solder in the noise detections. So in my port 1, 2, and 3, if you hear like a little noise or buzzing sound in the background, that's these guys letting you know that there's a short on the track. So what these guys do is that they have an internal circuit breaker that automatically resets itself when the short happens, so that way it protects our boosters and it protects our command system. These PSXs are definitely worth the investment because now what you can do is you can district your power out to your modulars and also protect it if there's a short on the track. So now I'm going to show you guys how the districts is basically set up. So it comes out the other end, and now what we do is we follow that ribbon cable. I think it's 14 gauge that we used, and this is going to go all the way through into the two different modulars. So you can see we've got the two different districts that split. It goes to the left hand side and it goes to the right hand side district, and it feeds up to the modulars. Now, something else that you got to take into consideration, and then we kind of had my big boy running through here, is that whenever you split the districts, you must isolate those districts on the rail as well. Otherwise, you're going to short the whole system out. So up here, we have isolators to separate, I think that was District 3 and 4. So we essentially had 4 districts because you had 2 boosters that was going into 2 PSXs to divide it into our districts. So we had 1 booster controlled 2 districts. And I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this a little bit. So right there you can see our isolators for both sets of track. So this was essentially 1 district controlled 3 modulars. So that's 1, 2, and 3. That was 1 district. And then we also had the isolator joints on this side that I'm about to show you. once my Rio Grande legacy or heritage train runs through. But yeah, so we had isolators there, and then that's one district. So the other district was right there going to the right. So again, I kind of emphasize that a little bit more. So there's one district, and then there's our second district. And then we just follow it all the way back into our PSXs. So if we had a short, these guys will definitely let us know. And that way we know too which engineer is causing the problem. And it's like, oh, District 4, this light would turn, and then the sound will be illuminated on, or not saying illuminated, but it will go off, letting you know which district it is. And the good thing about separating to 4 different districts is that if District 1 shorts, if an engine derails or so forth, it won't affect the other 3. So that way, the engineers can actually continue to run a train up until they get into the affected district. So again, just showing you the connections here. Again, some wires are not connected because we don't want it to be an auto reverser, or other connections are there just dead ends. And I think that wire is to tell the command station that it's actually a command station and not like a booster. Again, I'm not 100% sure the wiring schematics, but I just wanted to document this for you guys so that way you can pause it, take a look at it, wire it in the same general fashion. But again, this is for a legacy system. I'm not sure if it will work for the newer boosters, for newer command stations, and so forth. Again, these are our 2 different boosters. We got A and B. And now I'm kind of showing you the local net connection. So the thing about the local connection is that it's got to start in one spot, and then it can kind of deviate off. But the big thing about local net is that you don't want to make a complete circle. You want it to start somewhere, daisy chain it out, and end somewhere. So essentially, this is where the local net was connected, and then it goes clockwise around the layout, and it stops at the last modular. And it basically daisy chains all the way through. Here you can see the other 2 districts from the other booster B going into the PSXs. So here's our PSXs, and basically what this individual did was hardwired it to a piece of board and then put a plexiglass over it to protect it. But again, you got basically booster B giving the power to the PSXs, then it's daisy chain to make another district into 2 districts for a total of 4. And then we kind of labeled it, label 1. So one district went to the left, and then one district went to the right. And you just follow the wiring back, and it's connected back to that terminal bus, which then is connected to the booster. And that's our power that comes from the power supply 2012. And again, I try to record this configuration so that way I can get a good angle for you guys to pause and attempt to wire it the way I did. And it's a lot of notes for me personally as well, because I want to, when I have my own personal layout, this has worked great for us. So you can see how it splits right here and how it's daisy chained. And then also something else to note, when you're starting up this system, you got to make sure that you have a controller and do power and then yes on your Digitrax controller to turn all this on. Also, all the local net must also be connected as well before you power it up. Because that's something we learned on this show was that it wasn't cooperating, and we realized, oh, we got to connect all the local net together, and then it just magically worked. So again, I continue to document kind of the route of the power going to those PSXs. But yeah, if it's definitely one thing I strongly recommend buying if you're going to do something like this is PSXs, because they're going to save your equipment in the event of a short. So now we kind of follow the local net from one side, and now it's going to our LNWIs. I love the LNWIs because what they do is they provide a wireless signal to any cell phone essentially, and you have to download apps. There's one for, I think it's a Wi-Fi throttle and engineer throttle or something like that, or engineer driver for the Android, and you download those and you can control your train from your phone. So we had 2 of these because there's a max limit of 4 users connected to each modular or to each LNWI. But that allowed our members to actually control the train wirelessly, and these things were gold. But there is a downside to it, is that you gotta basically have a burner phone or burner smartphone, so that way when you connect it via phone, it's going to take place of your normal cell reception service because you gotta connect to it like a Wi-Fi internet essentially. So something to keep in mind when you invest in LNWIs. And these LNWIs are connected to power-wise to the backup battery to protect them. Again, this system is all about redundancy and protection of the equipment because you're going to spend hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars on these type of systems, and you really want to try your best to protect it. And again, there is our power feeding into our command station. And again, the big thing about this too is that you want to keep a command station as the brains of the system. You do not want to use it to power your layout. You can, but even Digitrax recommends that you not use it as a booster. So again, I continue to show you guys the layout here. And then here I really get close to emphasize the point that you're going to connect it from, instead of trying to connect everything to the small little ports there, just use the terminal strip. It's such a great idea. And again, showing the power distribution here. So that one should be going to the booster B. And then that's our, I can't remember what that wire is. I think that's our termination for ground. Or, no, I'm not exactly sure what that wire is for. But, again, just give you an idea. Someone else much smarter than me found the schematics of everything and was able to put all this together. I think this was like it's either the NMRA standard configuration or it was the Fremo configuration. I can't remember top of my head. But then I kind of show you guys, the 4 power districts essentially. So, but yeah, guys, that is pretty much the layout. Let me go ahead and there we go. I'll just pause it here. So yeah, that was basically our power system. Once I got the hang of how everything works, I kind of understand it. But again, it just takes a little more research. I don't have the actual schematics with me. That's why I kind of documented video by video. But yeah, that's pretty much our HO. And again, this was just the HO layout. N scale, just they do other things. But yeah, guys, that was pretty much the power system for the HO layout for the Central Coast Road Festival. And this will mark the last video in the series. So with it, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you learned something. If you did, then I did my job then. So with that, take it easy.